Hi TackleDirect fans, I am Patrick Sebile, lure designer for a band of anglers brands. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Hyperlastic Dartspin, and especially the Dartspin Pro. So the Dartspin is currently our most popular bait. We have a wide range of sizes. We start with that 2.5 inch guy. That's the newest addition to the range. Beautiful teeny bait, very strong, long lasting. That's the only one. There's the weight is already inside of the lure. Thanks to that, it spirals down on the waist when you jig it. Beautiful jigging and darting action. And then we have the 3.5. The length enclosed both the body and the blade, by the way. The 4.5. The 5.5, which is the most go-to between fresh and saltwater sizes, and then the 7-inch long. So definitely a big range between those two guys, right? So what makes the Dartspin Pro be a pro? Well, actually that's about the finish, the painting. The bait itself is the same. The Dartspin have holes and slots. Thanks to that, very easy to rig them. They are also longer lasting because you don't hook the hook into the plastic, but you actually follow the holes and slots. That also allows you to make sure that every single time you have your hook positioned properly. It's sometimes when a soft plastic is not very well rigged, you don't get the best swim action from the soft plastic. Well, with Hyperlastic and that Softough material that I use and my engineering and design, I have holes in the nose, underneath the chin, underneath the belly, cuts in the back. So thanks to that, no matter which hook you're going to use, you can put that properly and make sure that the action will be correct every time thanks to that. So the Pro model literally have a finish that's the painting has the quality of our lure, of high-end our lure. So that's why they are much more realistic and better finish and a bit more expensive indeed. So I want to share with you a few different ways to rig and use that Dartspin Pro. So let's start with the easy thing first. So the 5.5 and the 7-inch long, both of them in Pro come in what we call duo pack. That's what I just showed you one second ago. The duo pack are two bodies, so duo in the pack, and the hooks, so you rig them the way you want. We have also the 5.5 and the 7 coming with a wide gap weighted hook. So when I say, and I spoke about the easiness of using the holes and slots, let me show you. So first you see I just wet a little bit the hook, as you well know, it slips better when it's wet. So Bon Jovi knows that as well. So you have a hole going through here. So you just follow that hole. You see I don't hook the plastic, and then once I'm here and the hook went through the hole already, I just hold the hook in one hand, I hold the head in the other hand, and there's a hole underneath the chin, and I simply take the eye, and here you go, and the lure is ready to go. Now one of the benefits of the deep cut on the back is with wide gap hook you can hide the hook inside. You don't need to actually hook the hook point like you will in typical soft plastics. So thanks to that, it's very weedless, and you just need to put it and make it weedless if you fish, say, in lily pads, or if you have floating grass or debris. Most of the time, just leave the hook a little bit outside. The hooking ratio is always better, of course. So that is a very common way to use that Dartspin, but don't be fooled by that. There's many more ways. But this, of course, is a good mix between a number of things, casts pretty well, goes through a number of type of cover, and you can even let it fall. On the fall it have a fluttering action, and the blade spins behind, which is very attractive. And you can burn it on the top as well when you have very active predator fish such as striped bass or redfish sometimes. I meant snook in that case. Burning that bait, or calico bass in California, burning that bait, especially a 7-inch I would say in that very case, is just perfect. Now more ways to use that. So for example, instead of using the hook that comes with a weight, just put a wide gap hook, typically a 5 or 6.0, of course depend of the brand, the model, but meaning that if you don't have the weight, of course then the bait will stay on the top much better, and that will be better to have that top water action. And actually it will be so much on the top that even at a medium speed with a few rod twitches, you will have the blade going a bit crazy and make some explosion on the top. So very attractive for a top water approach. Now you also can tie a leader and have a weight in front. That means use it as a Carolina rigged bait, and it does work great as well like this. A few other use. For example, of course, you can put any kind of jig head, but I like to show you in that very case, you have this kind of mushroom jig head that even include a weed guard. And that's a great way to fish on the bottom. Actually, I'm showing you a 3.5 inch dart spin, and believe it or not, that may surprise a number of you, but this is the bait I caught in terms of percentage most of my bass in Florida when the fish are not in the cover, are not in the weeds. But if I fish more the open water and I fish on the bottom and just gently jigging that, the blade is so reactive that even if you twitch the rod tip by only 1 or 2 inch at a time, you have plenty of action, and every time you will go down, nose down, the blade will follow. Really great bait for finesse fishing, and you still can cast and retrieve, of course. So that's a great way to use this guy. Now, for example, sometimes you have school of small preys that are in open water, and you need to reach them, and you need to have a small lure. For example, schoolie striped bass. Well, those guys don't allow you always to use a light lure because just you won't be able to make that long cast. So use a flying pencil or flying popper SLD, so super long distance, or even a sinking, which is a bit lighter. But just to give you an idea, this flying pencil, which is 110 millimeter, 4.25 inch long, in SLD weighs 2.25 ounce. 2.25 ounce. So it just comes with a treble hook in the tail. So you just remove that treble hook and the split ring, you tie a leader, and you tie your dart spin behind. And in that case, you see what I did is I didn't use the regular thinner wire hook. If we're fishing for schoolie striped bass, if we're fishing for snook along the beach, if we're fishing on the flat for redfish that are very, very far away, of course, I prefer to have then a hook that's definitely a stronger one. I always use a drop of super glue because the holes here allow you to position perfectly your hook, and it holds pretty well. But especially if you're going to have a very intense fishing, and even more if you're going to cast that bait behind such a heavy lure, a drop of super glue, I love that one. That's the Gorilla super glue, but that one have a little brush. And that little brush right here is really fantastic because you can just put a teeny bit, like a very small drop of your super glue on the hook shank, and that will hold perfectly the lure for many, many catches on the hook. So that's a great, great, great setup if you want to fish fish that are feeding on small prey and you want to make those long casts, and even using heavier line than usually people will with such a small lure. Now you still can use light line if you want, but that's a fantastic, and I'm saying that again, that's a fantastic rig here. Super, super efficient for a wide number of predator fish. Albies in open water, for example, are also a great target of this rig, okay? And as the dart spin allows you for many, many things, one of the things I love to do when I use a dart spin is simply pair that with, well, guess what? I'm sure you know those lures, right? Yes, indeed. This is one of the best setup you can have together because we all know how good at deflection is this lure, the chatterbait basically. And when you add the dart spin, for example, here is a 5.5, you can have also a 4.5 if you want. You had also a bigger profile, and you have the attraction of the blade on the back, which really adds more to all of that. So great bait, great many ways of using this lure. You can use bucktails, you can do more things, of course. I just wanted to show you those few rigs and tell you that's one of the most efficient bait you ever tried in your entire fishing life. Promise that.